August 18th, 1227 is marked as a black day in Mongol history. Genghis Khan, the Mongol commander who established an empire stretching from the east coast of China west to the Aral Sea, gathered all his 4 sons and declared his successor on his deathbed. He gave his last will to destroy the Xia kingdom to ashes and succumbed that day. The circumstances of Genghis Khan's death are still unknown. Allies and adversaries of the Mongols developed a variety of exciting, though contradicting, stories about the legendary king's death to praise or discredit his legacy. His demise is shrouded in a tangle of rumors. Stories flung in history that he died of injuries incurred a year ago while he was taming a wild horse, or due to blood loss after being castrated by a Tangut princess. Many even believe that he died in battle or died of an infected arrow wound sustained during his final expedition against the Western Xia. In this video, let's look deep inside each story to find out what could be the real cause of Genghis Khan's death. After overthrowing the Jin dynasty, Genghis Khan had captured the Western Xia kingdom in northeastern China, but his campaign for their rice fields proved to be tougher and took nearly 20 years to conquer. He was anxious to defeat the Khwarezm dynasty in the Middle East in 1219. Khwarezmi's ruler had previously beheaded one of his ambassadors and returned the head. When Khan asked for assistance in defeating the Khwarezm from the subjugated Western Xia and Jin dynasties, they refused and allied against him instead. Genghis Khan marched forward without them, launching a brutal 3-pronged campaign against the Middle Eastern kingdom with 200,000 warriors. In every city he destroyed, he heaped the skulls of men, women, and children on mounds. After conquering the Khwarezmi Empire in 1221, he shifted his whole focus to the Western Xians, who had resisted him. But even with so much power and authority, just like for any other person in history, his life had to come to an end, and these are the most common shared theories. Death due to infectious injury after falling from a wild horse. Mongolian wild horses are known for their speed and strength. In 1226, while returning to western China after the war against Khwarezmi Empire, Genghis Khan visited Mongolia. He saw a herd of horses wandering in the wild. It was considered an honor in Mongolian Empire to tame these wild horses, as he was fond of wild horses and tamed many of them during his lifetime. He went ahead to tame the leader of the herd of wild horses. The horse had mesmerized him, and he jumped into the field, ignoring the fact that he had grown old. After a hard struggle, he was successful in riding this wild horse. The horse ran abruptly toward the meadows and was jumping vigorously. Due to his old age and weakness, Genghis Khan couldn't hold longer on this mad horse, and the horse struck him down. He was severely injured and given medical treatment. According to the sources, he didn't recover completely from this wound, and it remained with him until his death in August 1227. He fell severely ill during the war against the Western Xians due to heavy infection in the wound caused by the falling from the horse a year earlier. After bearing a heavy fever due to infection for 8 days, he succumbed to death. But before he died, he declared his successor and also gave his last will to the Western Xians. On August 18, 1227, he gathered his war commanders and his 2 sons, Ogedi and Tolui, to declare his successor. He had 4 sons. One of his sons died a year earlier, and another was a rebel. So he gave the succession to Ogedi Khan. He ordered the destruction of Xia on his deathbed. Khan's successors were obedient and demolished entire villages and towns, slaughtering and enslaving all of their people. To keep his empire's trust in their war against Western Xia, he hid his upcoming death. Castration by Chinese princess. Revenge stories are always fascinating. It is about Genghis Khan's castration by a Chinese princess. Although the motivation for this distribution is interesting, this lurid and demeaning story concerning his death is questionable. Khan returned from a military expedition in Persia in 1226 to put down a revolt in China. Despite having conquered the Chinese Xia and Jin empires more than a decade before, he fought to reclaim their freedom while he was away. Khan put down the rebellion quickly, and in 1227 he murdered the majority of the Shan royal family, known as Tanguts, to avoid another defection. Just a night before the decisive fight against the last recalcitrant Tangut prince, he had a dream of red blood falling on the white snow. Khan had a team of oracles known as shamans or spiritual guides in Mongolian history. The team of his spiritual guides told him that the blood belonged to the prince and that the white snow represented the dying prince's lovely daughter. When the prince was killed in combat the following day, Khan brought the Tangut princess to his bedchamber. He was about to rape her when she castrated him with a concealed blade from her hair. Genghis died soon after the incident due to blood loss. The princess committed suicide by jumping into the Yellow River to evade her impending execution. Since then, the river has been known as the Princess River. If he was killed in this manner, the motivation was unmistakably vengeance and the avoidance of a physical assault. Some speculate that the narrative was made up by the Chinese or another Mongolian tribe to discredit Genghis Khan. Infected wound during the final war against Western Xia. According to a historical account, Genghis Khan died in his final fight against the Chinese in 1227. It claimed he was executed by the Tanguts, which seemed implausible given his age and the fact that he was 65 and well protected. This narrative was published 70 years after Khan's death. Hence, it was not based on any eyewitnesses. For instance, if we believe it to be true, a death in war might allude to injuries incurred on the battlefield leading to Khan's death. However, Khan probably wished to die in combat to save his deteriorating health from jeopardizing the Mongol Empire's integrity. What could be the real cause of death of Genghis Khan? Whether it is more logical to seek more prevalent ailments such as infectious diseases, exciting, extraordinary reasons for death are assigned to legends of history. In general, there aren't enough proofs to back up these tales. The results from History of Yuan, a historical work commissioned during China's Ming Dynasty, were used to investigate to find the real cause of Genghis Khan's death. According to this book, he was sick with a fever that killed him. A prior study revealed he had typhoid fever, but the literature made no mention of the disease's clinical signs, such as pain in the abdominal area or vomiting. The researchers used information about the ailments that Mongol warriors and their foes were suffering from at the time. They discovered that his symptoms were similar to those of the bubonic plague, which was common at the time. Although we cannot be sure of the specific cause of death owing to these restrictions, we can state that this clinical situation is significantly more plausible and deserving of historical study than the mythical stories. Khan's bones were buried in unidentified, highly protected, and impractical areas, notably in the mountains. According to Mongolian culture, the leaders were supposed to be buried closer to their eventual destination, heaven. The monarch's body may also be inhumed and buried in a hidden grave dug in a field, or the remains could be burned. As a result, historians, archaeologists, and even tomb robbers have never been able to locate Genghis Khan's body and its associated treasures. A conclusive pathological demonstration of his cause of death may always be a puzzle for us to uncover. Hope you enjoyed the video. Share it with your friends who would love to know these unknown facts about Genghis Khan. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked the video, check out other historical videos on our channel. Don't forget to click the bell icon so that you don't miss out on such interesting topics.